Hey everybody, Miguel Benitez here. Um, Trying to just help you on your journey toward a thoughtful Christianity. And sorry for those of you maybe were tuning in before, trying the live stream for the first time. And so my apologies, I had some technical difficulties. The reason why I'm coming to you today and chose to do it via live stream is because today, which for those of you watching the recording, today's October 5th, 2017, and it was Bring Your Bible to School Day. And I would have done a video on this sooner had I found out about it sooner. I was just made aware of it yesterday, didn't find out about it till last night. But it is something that I talked to my students about. And this Bring Your Bible to School Day, you can check it out at bringyourbible.org, basically seems to be very focused on religious liberty, religious rights, very much about the right to bring your Bible to school. Now, I teach for Christian programs and Christian institutions, and so they don't have a problem bringing their Bible to school, but nevertheless, we recognized it. We had a conversation about it. But see, I grew up in a public school. I was 13 when my family started going to church and when we became Christians, and I grew up in a public school setting. And so I know the challenge that many Christian students faced. And so today what I want to do is just have events like this be a reminder to us of how important it is to train our students, our children, and other young people in the church in Christian apologetics. You see, it's one thing to bring your Bible, to exercise that right, though simply exercising the rights doesn't preserve them, it doesn't protect them. But I'm sure a number of students got into conversations today. They brought their Bibles to school. And could you imagine how much better those kinds of conversations can go if instead of a student asking, hey, why do you have your Bible on the desk? Instead of simply saying, well, because I have a right to do it, you take opportunity to engage that person in conversation. Have them consider the claims of Christianity. The website reports that over 300,000 students participated last year. I'd imagine that that number will grow this year. But you see, could you imagine the impact? Can you imagine the movement if we had 300,000 students well-equipped and well-trained in the art of defending the Christian faith? I know for me personally, these kinds of things, see you at the flagpole or prayer at the flagpole, and these kinds of events, I was part of Christian organizations on campus. They were oftentimes filled with anxiety for me because I wanted to be a good witness for Christ. But I also knew that if people asked me deep questions, if people asked me difficult questions, I would be reduced to not having a whole lot to offer. And so I think that it's important when we're encouraging our students to participate in this kind of event, which there's nothing wrong with. I'm okay with this kind of event. But let us send our students well-trained, ready to have those conversations. Throughout middle school and high school, as a Christian, I had a really hard time anytime that the topic of Christianity came up. Any in-depth question would have left me kind of stuttering and just grasping at straws for some kind of a response. I had never heard the word apologetics. And so my sophomore year in undergrad, I took a biology course. And that biology professor at a secular college saw biology, and this was just an introductory biology class. He saw it as an opportunity to pontificate on religion, on Christianity. Talked about how the Bible was a bunch of hocus pocus, how there was no evidence that Jesus had ever even lived. He discussed how it's okay for one to be a Christian, but that kind of religion, that kind of thinking needed to stay at the door of his classroom. It's not something you can bring inside. The kinds of challenges that he would pose to Christianity were unsettling to me. They were unnerving. I was having a really hard time. I turned to a number of people for further explanation, further help. And while many well-meaning Christians tried to help me, they didn't have a whole lot of answers for me. And it wasn't until I was introduced to the field of Christian apologetics that I realized we as Christians have really good answers to these tough questions. And so my encouragement to you, if you're a high school student who participates in this kind of event, or if you're a parent who has your child participate in this kind of event, go into the fire unequipped. The deck is stacked against you or your student. And so I think that it's important that we do the hard work. Simply one day of bringing your Bible to school is not going to change hearts and minds. It's a good step. It's a good thing that we get to do that sort of thing, that we live in a country where you can, in fact, take your Bible to a public school. But I think we need to focus on the conversations, the day-to-day, not a single event, but the ongoing friendships and relationships. Know how to start those conversations, know how to engage in the conversations, and present Christianity in a winsome way. I hope you understand where I'm coming from and why I think we can take better advantage of these kinds of movements and events that are put on nationwide. I've got 3 books that I will suggest if you're looking for a place to start. Where can I start this journey? Whether you're a parent or a student, where can I start this study of Christian apologetics? There are many, many, many great materials and resources out there for you. But I'll just give you 3 that I would recommend, that I've read myself, and that I think are accessible and provide you with a great foundation to Christian apologetics. So the first one is by Tim Keller, The Reason for God, Belief in an Age of Skepticism. In this book, you will get answers to many of the very tough questions that get asked about evil and about hell. You will also see presentations of arguments for God's existence. And I think that Keller writes in a very accessible way, a theologically faithful way, and this is a fantastic resource. Then we have Tactics, a game plan for discussing your Christian convictions. And this is by Greg Koukl. And this book is focused on taking the kind of content that you get in a book like Keller's and putting it into a conversation. You see, it's not enough to just learn the information. We want to learn how to communicate it in an effective and winsome way. And Greg Koukl does a fantastic job of helping us learn how to do that in this book. Not only that, it's also a really helpful resource on figuring out how to have these conversations in the first place. I remember growing up in public school as a teenager, it was really tough to have faith conversations with my non-believing friends. Greg Koukl does a great job of providing us with some tools that we can use to engage our friends in conversation in a non-combative way. And then lastly, the book that I would recommend to you is The Best Things in Life by Peter Kraft. A contemporary Socrates looks at power, pleasure, truth, and the good life. And this is written by Peter Kraft, a Catholic philosopher, where he has Socrates as one of his main characters, and each of the chapters are just dialogues tackling some of the main questions that Christians and non-Christians wrestle with. Like, what is the purpose of education? What is good? What good is money? Can computers think like people? Is belief in God like belief in Santa Claus? And many other topics that are covered in here. This is a great kind of worldview primer, but also because all the chapters are dialogues, you get to see how some conversations may go and a way of asking good questions when having difficult conversations. So anyway, again, I want to encourage those of you who participated in the Bring Your Bible Day. I know that it can be tough as a Christian student in a public school setting. And so I'm proud of you. I want to encourage you to continue to do that sort of thing. But let's do some of the heavy lifting. Let's study hard and work hard to honor God and glorify Him in the setting He has placed us. And so if you do find yourself in a public school setting, start getting those resources. There's the books that I recommended, but there's also YouTube channels and podcasts and all sorts of resources available. Feel free to reach out to me, comment down below, or shoot me an email on my website, and I'd be happy to recommend resources for you as you prepare to reach your students. If you're a parent watching this, and your student participated or your student wasn't willing to participate because of some of their reservations, some of their concerns, I'd love to be able to hear more about what you're doing to try and prepare your student. And if you have questions, I would love to be a resource to you. So anyway, until next time, I hope that this has been encouraging to you to take advantage of these opportunities that are presented to us by organizations like bringyourbible.org. And let's try and maximize these. Have spiritual conversations with non-believers so that the Lord might draw people unto Himself. I'll see you soon.